that most soldiers and sailors are not only just 99%, but they're also from historically very poor backgrounds. As such, are you surprised that more soldiers and sailors aren't involved in the movement, given that these are very positive and abused by corporate greed in the system, as well as their families, who historically have been also victims of this?
So one concept is run a lot of politics, either high or higher uniform, do not represent a lot of it is you have to wait till your contract and wait to do anything like this. The other part is you're used to the authoritarian military system, not speaking out, not having an opinion, following orders, and breaking away from that and being critical of really anything is a little belief that not many people are ready to do.
Yeah, there's been a lashback against the vets that have been protesting. There's a term called Blue Falcon that people are probably familiar with, but it's basically like you're a traitor to your unit, you're a traitor to your command if you don't agree with what everyone else is agreeing to. If you see some injustice or whatever, speaking up is it's not recommended. Even though you might be morally and legally correct, you could still possibly be labeled a Blue Falcon, and you could be shunned, and now you're stuck doing all the crappy jobs that no one else wants to do. You're getting switched to a duty section you don't like.
I would compare that to like the code of silence in Amortha, which you don't speak up, you don't admit anything, you don't talk to anyone. And while that solidarity can be very helpful in combat, it sometimes produces bad side effects such as various hormones, and you don't talk about it. So I believe all of that is good.
Do you see any difference with, let's say, reserves to National Guard? I'm actually a National Guardsman myself, currently serving for the state of Massachusetts. And one of the things that I found a lot aren't aware of is the fact that you're not under UCMJ when you're not on duty. So do you find any difference in that, perhaps a lack of knowledge? Or
I was reserve side. I believe you were active duty. I would say that a lot of it is the psychological of you don't want to speak up, you don't want to make waves. I found starting very early on making waves and then taking bad things from the career.
I just have a question regarding the Key Card. And most of these protesters, they're not in the 1%. They work against healthcare, tax revenues, and strong government. Why do you think they're advocating for all these causes that are against themselves?
I think on the liberal side of the fence, you could argue that a lot of it is kind of like an astroturf produced goal of operating against your own self-interest. That the concept of you're not rich now, but someday you will be. So you're acting against your future self-interest as opposed to your current ones. My argument against that is that these days, raising above your class, becoming rich is much harder than used to be.
I guess I'd make a comment too that those in power have this propensity to effectively get those who are down low to fight with each other rather than rising up against those guys who are down the power. Other questions?
You just brought up astroturf. So we look at the Tea Party, and we can't really say it's a grassroots movement because it was heavily funded by people at the top. They designated leaders right away, and now we look at this Occupy movement. It's the complete opposite. It's completely grassroots. They aren't taking money from anyone. It's all public based. There's no leaders. It's a completely autonomous thing. Do you think that is a strength, or do you think that this will eventually kind of weaken the Occupy movement?
I do think the strength, and that makes it tremendously harder to go up with. A lot of different organizations have tried to imprint it with their own ideas, whether it's Move On or whether it's Fox News or whomever. They're all like, hey, we see this mass movement, let's get a couple of our clients to our platform in there and let's let them run with it. Not having leaders makes us harder to go off or have sex scandals or whatever, so we don't lose those leaders. You know what happens. But it also makes it a little bit harder to organize because we don't have a hierarchical structure. We can't just say, all right, here's my idea, everyone do this. It's a lot of consensus building, it's a lot of working together. And early stages, it's a lot of finding each other. Hey, I thought you were going to, I thought this was going to happen, it didn't happen, what do we do? So that makes it a little bit harder.
I think one of the important things is that because we're inclusive and not exclusive, is that, you know, if you go down to Occupy Boston or come to an Occupy UMass Lowell meeting, you will find intelligent debate that you do not find in mainstream media. You know, if you want to talk to a communist about their ideas, go down to Occupy Boston, you can talk to a rational communist, a rational anarchist, not someone who wants to burn down your house and kill your dog. You know, somebody that just believes that human beings can be good. Yeah, it's just, if you're looking for intelligent debate, we got it.
Yeah, I would say that most everyone in the Occupy movement is very politically active, very concerned, and have a lot of ideas. I've had my mind changed a couple times on various issues. I was like, wait, you have a good point. It's very, you know, non-militantly partisan.
Just to reinforce the point, one of the original leaders in the catalyst behind the Tea Party movement was none other than the former majority leader of the House, Newt Gingrich's top lieutenant, Dick Armey from Texas. He raised an awful lot of money, wrote a book, made money on his book.
I just want to come back to the media, and one of the things that came up in the survey findings was that you did find that there's a lot more divisiveness in politics, and we know that there is. You know, we don't, maybe 10, 12 years, it's just really gotten polemic. With the proliferation of internet media, I can invariably look and look and look and find something credible that supports my political agenda, regardless of how outlandish it might be. So, what I'm wondering is, Jennifer, you might be the best to speak about this, what role is the media playing in sort of driving these wedges nationally and really creating more problems than good?
So, you're stuck in your echo chamber, right? We do tend to seek out news sources that reflect our points of view. And we can have these points of view reinforced multiple times. So say, for example, you're in the conservative echo chamber, you might, for example, listen to Rush Limbaugh and then watch Fox News, and you're hearing the same, and they'll all be quoting conservative sources, and you'll hear the same take on a particular situation again and again and again and again. What that does is it reinforces your point of view, and it also at the same time excludes, basically prevents you from hearing other points of view, not just to pick on the conservatives, but liberals, National Public Radio, MSNBC, the late night comedy circuit. You're hearing your points of views again and again and again, and you're not listening to the people with other points of view. So that I think is the phenomenon that we tend to have as we have more sources available. They're not all that different.
Don't you think the liberal media picks on their own?
It's part of the liberal
That's
philosophy.
just your experience.
Yeah, right. Yes.
Comment and a question. I think that the movement is absolutely fantastic, and I think it's just that there's people who have the courage and the commitment that I think also serve to inspire other people. I've been down to Occupy Boston, I bring talks of you down there periodically, and it's just really inspiring to sort of see what's there. I have a question actually of your survey. It's concerning the comments about government, because I think that it's very hard for anyone to have a favorable view of government right now because it is so completely dysfunctional, because of the extreme differences and the inability to sort of come to terms. But that I think is very different, and I mean I feel that way as well. I'm a very strong supporter, however, of government, of public services, and more public money in the higher education system. And so I'm not sure how you framed that question, because to me they're two different things, and if you just use the term government, they could mean two very different things.
The term can mean different things to different people who, in this case, read it in the question. And I'm sure that if we ask specifically about different facets of government, different types of programs, or different branches of government under the parties that control them now, that we would get a different view. in the space we had available to do this, we opted for one overall read of the government in Washington. Certainly some people may view that through the prism of perhaps they're Republican conservatives and thinking of the Obama White House, or perhaps they're liberal Democrats and thinking about House Republicans with Tea Party influence and their influence on the government. Perhaps they're thinking of it through the prism of the debt ceiling debate, where it seemed that nothing was going right from any perspective. So it is a very broad measure. We were looking for just a general impression, the same way we only had a very general impression of Wall Street and large corporations. I'm sure that if we asked multiple questions there, that we could find some elements that there would be more favorable views about the capitalist system, about the role of business and free markets. So your point is well taken. By design, we only went for a broad and overall impression. And the same with Occupy Wall Street and the Tea Party. We were looking for overall impressions. We asked, the question was in a grid online, so that respondents just went down all four and said favorable or unfavorable, so that we would have comparability.
Well, this is the last question.
I just have a question about, well, one thing is thank you, because I'm really inspired by Chuck. And one aspect is I think you can disrupt the discourse as another person said. And I think that's one thing about the media is I just love this idea that you can do a handwritten sign and people see it there for them. You know, that's never happened, and that's not me. And that actually, I think, has to do with our question, which is, I think there's a lot that's generational about this, and it's odd because, you know, I feel that I'm in the establishment, and because it's a baby boom basically left the world in shambles, you know, and it's probably the most destructive generation that has ever lived. I have to say, I mean, really, but look what we're ending the next generation. You know, unsolvable problems and local government. So anyway, and that has to do, I think, with the media. So if you like I see this hope in Occupy movement that I don't see that. And I wonder if you could just comment on that. Like, what is it that is making you think?
Well, the one that I'm no longer aligned was the previous part of it. Like, I could see all these problems with the world, and I was like, nothing's being done about it. I'm being left with this horrible thing. Being able to identify and work with other people has been fantastic. New media in particular has been amazing for that. I can look at live streams and watch local live or New York City live or all the occupations. Like when the bridge was being taken, the Brooklyn Bridge, I was watching it live. I could see the raw footage from Stellas getting shot within hours, and that kind of media is, quite frankly, revolutionary. We're getting the raw footage and we're streaming it to millions of people within hours, and I don't think that the old school media is really on deal with it.
We're going to talk to give you time to talk to the panelists individually. I want to thank Mike and Jennifer, Keith, Jay. You guys